Hello there guys, this is your boy back in the building with you on your future 21C. Yes, today we are going to talk about a racial abuse by a police in Miami against a black or African American doctor. Today we are also going to talk about Kenyan parliament against the Chinese working in Kenya. For obvious reasons, we all might know about that. We are going to talk about the African presidents who also rejects or cancel the Chinese loan, which was about buying the whole of Africa or nearly the whole country for 150 years, if not more.
How can you say this?
And we are going to talk about the Africans who have been tied up in Chinese shops in China and pulled out from their shops.
Will you shut up?
We are going to talk about the South Africans' method of treating the COVID-19, and yes, Cuba sent medical doctors, medical personnel. Cuba and South Africa, the relationship, we are going to also see what is happening in this time that the world is suffering. Everybody is in need. So we say man hurries up in this time of the COVID-19, but still we still have some good Samaritans out there. Or the medical doctor in Miami, Florida, who has been going out there trying to help the homeless people, but racial abuse, this racial segregation is something very sensitive against the black people all over the world. But we are going to talk about that in another video or some other time. First, watch, if you have not seen this clip, to see what happened in Miami, Florida.
On Friday, the man, Armin Henderson, was wearing a mask and preparing for a volunteer shift, helping protect homeless people from the spread of COVID-19 when a patrol car pulled up to his home. Surveillance video from Dr. Henderson's house shows him loading a van with supplies before the encounter. Dr. Henderson says the police officer handcuffed him after accusing him of littering and then asking for identification, which Henderson did not have on him. The officer was not wearing a mask. Dr. Henderson was. He had to yell to his wife inside their home to present identification before the officer finally released him. On Saturday, Miami police chief has ordered an internal investigation into the incident. The officer involved has not been identified. The encounter sparked widespread outrage and comes as African-American men report fears of increased racial profiling when they're following the CDC's suggestion that people wear masks in public.
Yeah, so I was pretty much just putting tents in my car, and I noticed that the police officer rode down the street, that a cross-section of my block, one way, really slow, and then he came back around the street the other way and basically turned down my block. And he pulled up next to me, questioning me if I lived there, if I worked here. I told him that I lived there. I told him what I was doing. I told him that, you know, where I was putting the boxes was where the city of Miami comes to pick up our trash every week. For example, they're here this week, and people on my block are putting trash in the same place that I put the boxes, you know, on Friday. And he just, at some point, he just didn't believe what I was saying, or he thought that I was being disrespectful, and decided to get out of the car and escalate the situation. Once he got out of the car, you know, he asked me for ID, which I said I didn't have. And, you know, I was trying my best to keep cool during the situation and, you know, remain steadfast on what I was doing, which was to be, you know, at downtown Miami delivering food and tents to homeless individuals that live downtown. And so I pretty much went ahead and continued to do what I was going to do, because I didn't know where this encounter was going. And then he just decided to put cuffs on me, basically. Once he put cuffs on me, I called for my wife. She came out and pretty much de-escalated the situation. He was like inches from my face, basically yelling that I should call him Sergeant, I should call him Sir, and with no mask on, he had no gloves on. I could feel his saliva on my lips. It was just a crazy encounter.
So drop your comments below. We all know it's time for us to stand and be on our feet and decide what we want the future to be like. Let's talk about the North Korean president who've gone missing. You know, the president of North Korea, Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-un or something like the yeah, there is an and Jong-un somewhere. Yeah, Kim Jong-un has been missing for a while, but we hope he gets well. If he is sick, as from per what we have been hearing, that he is not well, he is very sick. Please pray for him, and let's pray for his health. Let's hope he's fine. Hope it's not the COVID-19. Whatever it is, let him get well. If you have not seen the president, or if you don't know about the president of North Korea, look.
10 days ago, Chairman Kim had a heart operation. Other reports said his recovery was not all the best. One said he was in grave condition. Now, it is true during that time he has not been seen, even missing an important holiday in Pyongyang. Still today, I spoke with an official with the South Korean president, and they confirmed that they are not seeing anything unusual.
President Trump, what do you have to say?
I can only say this: I wish him well, because if he is in the kind of condition that the reports say, that the news is saying, that would be that's a very serious condition, as you know. But I wish him well.
That Kim Jong-un might just be sheltering at home in a villa outside of Pyongyang, away from COVID-19. It's a very important report today in the New York Times. It says coronavirus, in fact, is very bad in North Korea.
Okay, that's the president, the handsome guy who is ruling North Korea. Let's flip the page and go to the next one, and then we see what is happening now in Africa. John Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, has rejected or cancelled the Chinese loan was signed by his predecessor. I don't know if they were selling Kenya plus him. He has realized that his predecessor sold the country, including him. They sold it to the Chinese. Yes, they sold the country to the Chinese. Now he has seen he cannot leave himself to be sold that way. So he decided to bring back his people. If you have not watched this, listen to this clip.
The president has canceled a 100-year Chinese loan agreed by the country's former president. He says only a drunkard would accept such terms. And 16 U.S. senators are calling for developing countries to disclose whether they are indebted to the Chinese regime before asking the international community for financial help amid the pandemic.
China, that Africans were helping them in the 70s. Now we are the one borrowing money. That is, we are not going to even call that modern slavery. Yeah, because the slavery is the old people who are becoming slaves, because you will become slave in your grief. You will die and you remain there, you get rot there. Yes, when we grow old, we die, then we'll pass you and go to heaven. We'll tell you, is there bad things that you have been doing on earth to us, make you to remain there and feel the heat beneath the soil. Whatever the case might be, let's flip the page to the next chapter and hear what is happening. The Kenyan parliament has also risen up. I hope the entire African nations are going to be rising up to take what belongs to us and use it on us. Every African whom I've seen, we are growing happily, but our smile is like we are angry. Have you seen somebody chewing a bone, a very hard bone? You know the look of the face. Just imagine the look of the face. That's how a smiling African looks like in these modern days because of the bad leadership. That's why Kenyan parliament has already decided to say no, they'll put an end to all these things that are happening. If you have not watched the clip, what the Kenyan parliament has decided, take a look at this right now.
Work permits for foreigners are supposed to be given for work which no Kenyan can do. When a fellow Chinese who cannot speak English is manning a gate and Kenyans are looking for jobs, what are you talking about, you fellows?
Politically, honestly, the situation is out of...
Let's get to the bottom of this matter quickly. Lastly, can we afford 1 million shillings a day?
How can you say this?
What are you saying? These people are like, this thing is going to become like the port of Sierra Leone and Sri Lanka. We are going to sell our national treasure to these people. 66% of our debt, and is growing, is to the Chinese. If you don't wake up and smell coffee, senators, and Kasakaja, I thank you for bringing this up. This is going to be something. They split a school into two. The railway line is in the middle. The school is destroyed. They've refused to repair it. When they go to Makweni, when we complain, they go and bribe the teachers, give them 200,000, 300,000. Let's get to the bottom of this matter, or history is going to judge us so harshly when we begin paying and selling our country to the Chinese, when we gave them the port of Mombasa, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and part of Kenya, which we will give to the Chinese. I call it the road to Shanghai.
That's it. Well, whatever the case might be, we already know what Africa is all about, but we don't have time to waste. Let's flip the page to another chapter and then we'll see what is happening there. Meanwhile, in China, there is the racism that has been going on with us. One thing we'll never stop speaking or talking about. Anyways, this time around, they are tying up the black people and pulling them on the floor of the store and sending them away. If you have not watched this, take a look at this right now. Whatever, we know relationships are very tight, and Cuba-South Africa relationship is one of the highest. That is what we call true friendship. The Cuban president has sent the medical team in South Africa to go and help the South Africans. If you have not seen it, see the South Africans receiving the Cuban medical team. Watch this clip.
There are about 20 of those personnel who will then be met by the ministers who are here, including the defense minister, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. The Cuban flag welcoming their compatriots. Some of these doctors are from their home country. It certainly is a moment of pride for Cuba and also for South Africa. All right, big placards of welcome here at the Waterkloof Air Force Base. And, despite, South Africa being lauded by including the World Health Organization for its efforts in, managing this entire global crisis, South Africa certainly has been lauded for the efforts it has put in place. So any other further assistance that could help South Africa in curbing the further spread of the coronavirus is certainly welcome.
Yeah, while the Cubans were arriving, the South Africans were also trying to find out methods or ways to treat or handle the COVID-19, preparing themselves to see how they can manage the situation. They were not thinking like the president in the USA who said we should use a disinfectant to inject people to kill the virus. You know, that is the most dangerous advice ever given in the universe.
Eyes focused, hands steady. Dr. Yana du Plessis quickly inserts a tube down the throat of a dummy behind a plexiglass box. It's called the Inchu box, designed to protect frontline health workers treating COVID-19 patients.
We've created a hatch through which you can work through, and it opens away from the person doing the procedure.
South African emergency medicine specialist Professor Perosa Mutara heads up the team that developed the box for high-risk procedures like intubation.
The risk is when you're trying to do that intubation, you literally are over the patient. So if all that stuff, even with a mask and a gown, all that aerosolized material is then hitting you as a contact, whereas now it's in the box.
Africa has already had some success with a similar innovation when treating Ebola patients, a large plastic cube that protects medical staff from the deadly virus. Doctors insert their hands through the plastic to treat an infected patient without coming into physical contact with them. The Ebola cube was the inspiration for the smaller Inchu box, designed by the South African medical team and then modified by aeronautical company Paramount, which also makes parts for Boeing.